The sender starts with, I'm shitting my brains out in a porta potty at mile 13. There's no toilet paper. This is like dropping 3 musketeers at the bridge with no warning. It's an all-in play, way too much information, very aggressive, and completely exposes their position. There's no defense, just panic. The coach replies with, on my way. This is a solid Zap plus Valkyrie combo. Calm, prepared, and supportive. He's clearly been in this kind of matchup before and knows exactly how to respond. Then suddenly a new player enters. Jeffrey Goldberg says, hello? This is Jeffrey Goldberg, the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic. Not sure how I got added to this, but this seems quite intimate, so I'm going to leave. This is like a spectator accidentally getting pulled into a 1 versus 1 ladder match mid-game. He didn't queue up for this and doesn't even know what deck is being played. He's confused, horrified, and immediately logs off. He wasn't supposed to be in the match, but still walked away traumatized. The game was never meant for him, but he got caught in the crossfire. The other person opens with, wanna have fun. This is like placing elite barbarians at the bridge first play. No warm-up, no strategy, just trying to rush tower with raw pressure. The reply is, in what way? Which is a calm and measured Tesla in the middle. Defensive, waiting to see what's coming. They follow up with, are you down here to see something sexy? And are you hard or soft right now? This is like adding a rage spell and mirror E-barbs to the same lane. Full send. No thought about counters, just going all in blindly. The response, I don't got a dick, is a complete freeze spell on their entire push. Everything stops. The pressure collapses instantly. Then comes the clarification. I'm trans, I am a boy, but I don't got no dick. This is the equivalent of dropping royal recruits across both lanes. It resets the game completely. New win conditions. They weren't ready for this. The other person says, come on, are you kidding me? That's a missed rocket. They weren't expecting this, and now they're just wasting elixir out of frustration. The final reply is, nah, I'm just that hot, but it's cool, sorry to disappoint. That's a perfectly timed fireball and emote combo. Confident, controlled, and cleanly ends the exchange. The stranger opens with, wanna see my dick. This is the texting equivalent of dropping a goblin barrel onto the tower with no setup and no thought. It's rushed, desperate, and immediately obvious what kind of game they're trying to play. No strategy. Just spam. You reply with, no, I'm a lesbian. This is a perfect counter, like placing log directly on the goblin barrel. Clean, fast, and shuts the whole push down without taking any damage. The response is calm and efficient. The stranger disconnects right after. That's a rage quit. They lost 1 interaction and gave up the whole match. No attempt to adapt or defend, they just left the game. You open with, hey, and the stranger responds with, hi. This is a standard opening, like cycling skeletons or ice spirit, nothing unusual, just a regular start to the match. You follow up with, hru, still casual, like playing a passive tombstone, just trying to feel out what kind of opponent you're dealing with. Then the stranger suddenly says, do you want to cut my dick off? This is like dropping a graveyard plus rage plus clone combo on your own king tower. It's unexpected, chaotic, and disturbing. Not only is it a weird play, it doesn't belong on the battlefield at all. It's a total self-sabotage. There was no build-up, no logic, and no reason. The conversation was normal and then instantly flipped upside down. The conversation starts calmly with, hey Sarah, you're probably still asleep. This is like opening the match by cycling something light, like skeletons or ice spirit. It's harmless and casual, just easing into things. Then the next messages say, feels weird to text you since we broke up. And, but I gotta tell us something. This feels like playing a passive elixir collector. It signals that something important is coming, but it's not an attack yet. It's build up. Suddenly, someone else replies, instead of Sarah, saying Sarah's still sleeping. Gave her a wild night. What do you want to tell her? Loser. That's an aggressive, overconfident push. Like dropping a goblin giant at the bridge with a rage spell already in hand. It's flashy, cocky, and way too early to gloat. Then the final message comes in. Tell her my HIV test came back positive. Thanks, champ. That's the equivalent of a perfectly timed rocket hitting their entire push. It's a hard counter, completely unexpected, and shuts everything down in one hit. The other person clearly didn't see it coming. They thought they were winning, but instantly lost the match in one move. The conversation starts with the girl saying, Craig, I'm going to be honest, then follows it with, you have the same name as my dad, and it's throwing me off a little. She's being polite but setting a clear boundary. She's uncomfortable, and this is her way of softening the blow. Think of it like easing into a rejection. She's saying it's not gonna work because of something out of his control. Then, after some time, Craig replies with, "That's okay, I prefer to go by my nickname anyway." This is a smooth recovery. He doesn't get defensive. Instead, he pivots. He keeps the conversation alive and adds a little mystery with the idea of a nickname. She responds with, "Oh yeah? What's that?" Now she's curious. Despite her earlier hesitation, she leans in. She's giving him a chance to recover. Then Craig drops the punchline. "Daddy." It's bold. It completely flips the mood. He's leaning into the discomfort with confidence. This type of line either lands perfectly or ruins everything instantly. There's no in between. In this text exchange, the conversation starts strong, much like a well-played royal giant pushing forward with enthusiasm. The second message, offering to let the other person pick the movie, keeps the flow going, similar to a solid ice spirit that maintains momentum. However, when the person asks, "How tall are you?" it's like trying to predict with arrows, an offbeat move that risks disrupting the conversation's flow. The response, 5'7", haha, why, is like a defensive ice golem trying to neutralize the awkwardness, but not quite recovering the smooth interaction. Finally, the last message, "Oh my god, my friend is stuck at the airport," is an attempt to salvage the situation, similar to a last-minute counterpush, but it feels rushed and leaves the conversation feeling awkward, like a tower falling after a failed defense. Alright, so it starts off wild with, "What do you think is faster, me horny or you scared?" This is 100% a hog rider, straight at the bridge turn 1. No warm-up, no elixir counting, just full send. It's that kind of play where you're hoping they don't have the right counter and cycle, and you might sneak a cheeky shot in. Then she hits back with, "Lamau, I'm just gonna say yay." That's like her dropping a pekka in the back, calm as ever, not panicking. She's not even trying to stop the push immediately, just letting it come to her, and it low-key shows she's not phased at all. Right after that, she says, "Only one way to find out, I feel like." Boom, battle ram at the bridge. Now she's pushing back with her own heat. She's matching the energy and swinging momentum back, basically saying, "Alright, let's see what you got." This is where you've got to be smart with your cannon or musketeer if you're running 2.6, because if you mess it up even a bit, that P.E.K.K.A plus ram combo is gonna smack tower clean. So yeah, you dropped hog first play and hoped for damage, but she didn't fold, played it cool, and now she's coming back with a heavy counter. One wrong move here and she's taking the whole lane. It kicks off with, "Hey big ass girl, you 5'10", with me inside, I can make you 6 foot." That's classic goblin barrel first play, not even testing the waters, just yeeting it at tower, hoping there's no log in cycle. Super aggressive, maybe lands some chip if they weren't ready, but definitely opens you up to a counter. Then she claps back with a long paragraph, basically saying the pickup line was mid and she's not the type of girl who's gonna toss you around in bed. That's the poison on your barrel, shutting it down completely with a calm, confident response. She's not phased, and she's already starting to control the tempo. You double down next with, "I meant I can fill you up and have 2 inches to spare." That's like you trying to cycle back to Goblin Barrel again, maybe with a knight in front for support. You're hoping to sneak something past her defenses now that the poison might be out of cycle. Then you drop Clever, which is like throwing down a cheeky princess at the bridge, just trying to keep the pressure up, even if it's not hitting that hard. You follow it up with, "I'm pretty dominant, I don't want to be crushed by your weight." That's kind of like dropping Inferno Tower in the middle of the arena. You're trying to stop a big push before it builds, but the placement is shaky and could easily backfire. Then she replies with that full essay flexing her strength, her weight, how she's pure muscle, and even throws in her hair length like an emote taunt. That's a minor plus poison plus log push, completely wiping out everything you just placed. She's not only defending well, she's flipping it into damage. She's got control now, and you're low on elixir, stuck trying to defend a tower that's already chipped. It all starts with the opener. "Hi Tanisha. Listen, if you give me some clean pee for my probation, I'll ball out on some EBT with you. If that don't give you butterflies, I don't know what will." That's a full-on graveyard push with Baby Dragon and Tornado, just dropping absolute madness into the chat with no shame. It's messy, unexpected, and somehow hard to stop. You're hoping the randomness lands some tower damage, maybe even steals a win if they ain't got a solid cycle. She replies, "That was the sweetest thing anyone has ever said to me," and that's her getting hit by the graveyard RNG. The skeletons chipped her tower, and now she's stunned. That's baby dragon locked on tower, and you can see she's not even mad. She's low-key impressed. Then she says, but I'm on drugs too, so no clean pee. And that's a quick E-Spirit plus Ice Spirit cycle to reset your whole push. She's saying she's not usable for your win condition, shutting the graveyard down while keeping her own rotation tight. Smart play. Fast, clean defense. You follow up with, I wanted to do a little extra to make you feel special. That's you tossing a knight at the bridge. Not full commit like before, but still trying to keep pressure so she doesn't build up her X-bow lane. You're not letting her control the tempo, you're keeping things weird and personal. So straight off the bat, the guy starts wild, hits her with a will you marry me out of nowhere. That's literally like dropping a miner straight onto the king tower first play. No warm up, just full send. She replies with a chill. Maybe, that's a barb barrel. Just tossing something out low effort to test the waters. Then she follows up with, I need some good reasons before I say yes, which is basically her setting up a tombstone in the back. She's building up her defense and seeing what he does next. The guy fires back with number 1, I would rock your world, and number 2, that's it. That's a minor balloon push. Heavy, kinda desperate, hoping it hits tower, but she's got time to counter. She hits back with which is like her dropping a baby dragon over the tombstone. Slow reaction, but setting up a solid defense. He's still trying though. I don't know, man, those are some pretty damn good reason is him cycling a musketeer at the bridge, light pressure, hoping to sneak in some chip. And then he drops, if you don't want the commitment, I can give you an advance on reason 1, which is like going for a prediction minor on her Ice Whiz, cheeky, risky, but he's hoping it throws her off. This convo starts like a typical 3.1 Royal Giant Ghost cycle. Fast, cheeky, and trying to catch you off guard. The dude opens with a sneaky, that's weird. You really look updog in that second picture, which is straight up a royal ghost at the bridge. It's bait, meant to be confusing but low risk. She responds with, basically dropping a lumberjack in the back. Kinda confused but starting to build up. Then the guy tries to hit with the punchline, saying, updog, you got that updog look on your face. That's the Royal Giant at the bridge. He's going full push now, trying to get tower damage with the follow-up, but she ain't having it. Her WTF is like dropping a balloon in the pocket with freeze locked and loaded. She's setting up for the counter. Then she slams back with that absolute roast, the I get no pussy and let my dog lick peanut butter line, which is the freeze spell. Whole push just got deleted. The Royal Giant's dead, Ghost is gone, and she's running down lane with full momentum. The guy tries to cycle back to something with not much how about you, but that's like cycling a fisherman in the back when your tower's already at 500 HP. It's over. She already took tower with that insane freeze push. GG. In the praying mantis conversation, they start off by asking if the object in the image is a praying mantis, which is like deploying a miner in Clash Royale. It's a straightforward move, aiming for clarity and to get a direct response. The answer, yes, is like using a log to quickly clear up any ambiguity, ensuring the conversation continues smoothly. However, the next message, don't have sex with it, it will eat you after, is like playing a hog rider in the wrong lane. It's a strange out of place comment that doesn't match the flow and makes things awkward. Following that, the reply, good call. It was looking at me all seductive like, is similar to counter pushing with a balloon. It builds on the previous weirdness, taking the joke further, but it feels like overcommitting, especially when the humor starts to get more bizarre. Finally, the last message, that's how they get you, is like dropping a P.E.K.K.A too late in the match, trying to make a bold statement, but failing to regain control of the situation. In the wrong number with Noah conversation, it starts off by asking, is this Noah? Which is like using a fireball, a quick direct approach to get an answer. The reply, wrong number sorry, is like a defensive ice spirit, clearing up the confusion and trying to reset the conversation. However, the following messages, like Noah please and please let me on the ark, are similar to spamming skeletons in a panic, desperately trying to force the conversation to continue even though the target is wrong. This continues with the message, please, it's me, which is like attempting to predict with arrows. It's an awkward and desperate attempt to fix the situation that's already off track. back. Finally, the last message, wrong number man, is like using a tornado to clear things up. But by this point, it's too late. The conversation has already spiraled into confusion and desperation. The initial fireball play is fine, but the rest of the conversation becomes a series of misplays, desperately trying to recover, leaving the interaction feeling awkward and lost. In the choosing numbers with Bishop's conversation, it starts with a neutral, simple request to choose a number, much like setting up a positive elixir trade in Clash Royale. It's a reasonable, safe move, creating space for further back and forth. However, the response, "I will shove 3 bishops up your ass," is like playing a golem in the wrong lane, an absurd, out-of-place move that derails the flow of the conversation and leaves everything feeling awkward and random. The next message, "Can I choose again?" is like trying to predict with arrows, hoping to recover from the earlier misplay, but it's still a desperate, awkward attempt that doesn't quite salvage the conversation. Finally, the last message, 100, is like dropping an elixir collector, a neutral, safe move to try to reset things, but by now, the damage has already been done. The initial elixir trade was solid, but the golem level misplay followed by weak attempts to recover make the conversation feel uncomfortable and out of sync. This interaction starts with good intentions, but ultimately becomes a misplay, with no chance to recover the rhythm. In the Kaylee conversation, it starts with a lighthearted, cheesy pickup line asking, "Are you the biggest parking ticket?" which is like playing a minor, direct and targeted with the intention of getting an answer, while also keeping the interaction fun. The response, "Yay," is like an ice spirit, quick, neutral, and not too much of a commitment, keeping the conversation flowing without causing any disruptions. Then the follow-up message, "'Cause you're the biggest fine dollar," is a bit like deploying a royal giant, a bold, slightly over-the-top move to keep the humor going, though it's flirting dangerously with being too much. The person responds with laughing emojis, which is like hitting a counter push with a balloon, acknowledging the joke and engaging in a lighthearted back and forth. Then the question, "Have you ever been to Antarctica?" is like setting up a slow, strategic push, trying to change the tone and direction of the conversation to something more interesting. The reply, "No, I haven't," is a simple, non-committal response, similar to a defensive ice golem, just holding its ground while the conversation continues. However, the next message, "Me neither. We have so much in common we should fuck," is a hog rider move, coming in unexpectedly and way too strong, shifting the tone of the conversation into something overly forward and inappropriate. Finally, the follow-up question, "Do you have Snapchat?" is like dropping a tornado to redirect and try to salvage the interaction. But by now, the conversation feels off track, with the bold moves causing some awkwardness. This interaction, while starting off with a fun, harmless minor play, quickly spirals into misplays with strong, inappropriate pushes, ending in an awkward and abrupt shift. In the cat conversation, it begins with a cheesy pickup line about being from Japan and trying to get into Japanties. This move is like using a royal giant, setting up for a bold play right away, aiming to make an impression and push forward with humor. The response, "So do it," is like using a goblin barrel. It's a challenge to commit, giving the other person the chance to go for it. The next message, "Depends on the package," is like preparing a PEKKA move, asserting some control by adding a bit of mystery to the conversation. However, the reply, "It's the biggest micro penis you've ever seen," is like playing a golem in the wrong lane, a complete misplay that derails the conversation by going too far and making the tone awkward and offbeat. The response, "Is that so?" is similar to a counter push, trying to gauge the response while still acknowledging the awkwardness. In the honey conversation, it starts with a simple question, "If I said I love you, will you say it back?" which is like deploying a minor once again, going for a straightforward and clear approach, testing the waters of the conversation with an easy question. The response, "Of course," is like using an ice spirit, an easy neutral reply, acknowledging the sentiment without too much commitment. The next message, "I love you," is like setting up for a strong push, a clear commitment to see if the other person will reciprocate. The reply, "It back," is an awkward attempt to keep the momentum going, but feels rushed, like trying to predict with arrows after a failed play, not quite landing well. The interaction ends with a simple back and forth, but the final response is like a defensive counter that tries to resolve the situation, but it still feels somewhat off and awkward. In this conversation, it starts with a bold, somewhat playful line, "Ah shit, we could have both had something we wanted," which is like deploying a minor, a targeted and direct attempt to initiate the conversation and get the other person's attention. The response, "You still have multiple things I want," is like playing a royal giant. It's a steady, confident push that builds on the initial move, keeping the back and forth alive while hinting at further possibilities. The next message, "As do you meat sack," is like deploying a hog rider. It's a sudden, cheeky response that changes the tone of the conversation, getting a bit more bold and forward while still maintaining the humor. The reply, "Me? Have something a beautiful girl like you wants?" is like playing a balloon. It builds on the previous message, adding some playfulness and humor while pushing the conversation toward a flirtatious direction. The next line, "Such as," is like setting up a counter push. It's an attempt to keep the interaction going by asking for clarification while still keeping things light. The response, "Have you read my profile, sir?" is a subtle tornado play, redirecting the conversation back to the profile but also turning it into a challenge, which keeps things interesting. The reply, "Yes, but I'm not sure I'd let you cut part of me off and eat it," is like playing a golem in the wrong lane. It's an unexpected and bizarre turn that may catch the other person off guard, but it takes the conversation to an uncomfortable, strange level. The final message, "Well, I don't know if I'd let you touch my feet then," is like trying to counter push with a balloon, responding to the strange comment in a playful way, but now the conversation feels even more awkward and off kilter. It's like trying to recover from a misplay, but it's too late to reset the tone.
Horace opens with the message, "My penis is small, but my is big." This is like throwing a goblin barrel at the tower with no bait. It gets instantly countered with a log. No pressure applied, just confusion and immediate rejection. This was a negative elixir trade. Amber responds with, "Please just stop trying, I'm already talking to someone." This is a perfect Valkyrie on defense. She clears the entire push effortlessly and doesn't overcommit. Just clean and efficient. It's a positive trade and she's now in full control of the board. Horace then tries to recover with, "But I love you!" This is the equivalent of rage spelling a single skeleton. It's a misplay. There's no tower connection and the push isn't doing anything. The emotes don't help. It's a waste of elixir. He follows up with, "At least answer this, like, does it steam?" This is like using prediction arrows in the opposite lane. There's no context and no synergy. It's just random cards being thrown at the bridge. It cost him elixir and dignity. Amber asks, "Does what steam?" She's not even trying that hard, just watching him burn his deck. Horace ends the push with, "Your hot piles of diarrhea." This is mirror plus elixir golem at the bridge when the opponent already has a PEKKA and Inferno tower. It's a massive overcommit. It's weird, it's desperate, and it results in a 3-crown loss. Mario opens with, "I microwaved my socks for you." This is like dropping a goblin drill at the bridge with no setup. It's confusing, aggressive, and instantly puts the opponent on edge. No clear goal, and just weird. The girl replies with, "Why?" which is a calm, basic knight on defense. She's not panicking yet, just trying to figure out what this play even is. Mario follows up with, "So they'd be warm when I imagined your feet in them." This is the equivalent of playing clone on a single minor. Way too much for the situation. It goes from awkward to disturbing fast. It's an overcommit. She replies with, "That's genuinely disturbing. This is like playing lightning on your entire push." She wipes it all out instantly. Clean, direct, no messing around. Mario tries to recover with, "But thoughtful, right?" That's elixir golem at the bridge when you're already down 2 towers. The push is done. There's no coming back. The stranger opens with, "Hi." This is a basic ice spirit cycle and a neutral opener. You respond with, "Hey." Still neutral. The game has started, but no pressure yet. The stranger then says, "You male or female?" This is minor chip damage. Trying to get information with a light poke. You respond, "Female." Still neutral, balanced elixir trade. Then the stranger plays "You Horny." This is like dropping elite barbarians with no support. Completely reckless and desperate. Easily countered. You say, was that a question? That's a tornado dragging the E-barbs away. Solid defense. The stranger says, "Yay." That's not even a card. Just wasted elixir. You reply, "Try one of these next time." Now you're BMing. They haven't even touched your tower. The stranger repeats, You horny? They're just playing Hog Rider into a Tesla over and over again. You say better, but still not a complete sentence. That's another positive elixir trade. You're still in full control. Stranger upgrades slightly with "Are you horny?" That's like leveling up a card, but it's still not a good push. You reply, "So close yet so far." "Are" and "you" are not words. This is rocket to the tower. Clean and punishing. Stranger says, "Are you horny?" Finally a proper sentence, but it's too late in the game. You say, "Almost there." You're farming at this point. Stranger's final push is, "Are you horny?" That's mirror goblin barrel straight into the king tower. Full self-destruction. You reply, "No." Game over.
The first message from the sender was like dropping a goblin barrel straight onto the opponent's king tower in the opening seconds. Overly aggressive, inappropriate, and unprovoked. It activated the king tower. Your response of "never mind" was a defensive log, shutting down the push calmly. They then tried to recover by distracting with a Valkyrie, saying, "Haha, no, but yeah, I'll bring you along," trying to shift the focus back to fun and act like the situation wasn't serious. But your direct response, "Yeah, it was something you said," was a mini P.E.K.K.A counter push, clear, controlled, and showing you weren't going to let that go unnoticed. The other person then dropped a panic skeleton army, claiming it was totally joking and wouldn't disrespect, hoping it would stop the pressure. Finally, you used a fireball to clear the board, saying it was just super crass and not respectful, decisively ending the match and making it clear you weren't playing anymore. The sender opening with, "Hey, I saw you read my message," was like placing a hog rider at the bridge, hoping for a fast connection without thinking if the defense is ready. Your reply of "No, I just didn't know what to say" was a cannon, stable, and non-aggressive, blocking the push with minimal effort. They kept overcommitting with a wizard at the back, saying, "For a sec, I thought you hated me," trying to build emotional pressure and sympathy. You replied with, "It's fine, LOL, a zap to reset the emotional tone, but without a real follow-up. Their message about feeling a connection was a balloon push with no tank, slow and vulnerable, hoping to land but easy to counter. You dropped an Archers and Ice Spirit combo with, "Yeah, I think that's just you," soft but effective at stopping the play. His "gonna go lie face down on the floor" message was a desperate mirror play, recycling a bad move and hoping for attention. Your final "okay" was like dropping a tombstone, passive and non-committal, letting the rest of the match fizzle out. The opener, "You up late too or just can't sleep like me?" was a royal ghost at the back, a chill and low commitment start that invites interaction without pressure. The follow-up, "Maybe I'll meet someone cute tonight, guess it worked," was a prince charge down the lane, confident and setting a flirtatious tone early. The "not as smooth as your smile must be" line was a musketeer behind the prince, adding charm and keeping momentum going. When the stranger responded with, "Oh wow, we're doing pickup lines now," you doubled down with, "Only if they make you stay a little longer," which was like playing a miner onto the tower, subtle pressure with good placement. The Eiffel Tower pun, "Are you French? 'Cause Eiffel for you," was a goblin barrel, flashy and risky, but meant to land with a surprise laugh. When the stranger laughed and called it bad but good, you used "admit it." You're smiling. A firecracker shot, playful and pushing for emotional damage in a fun way. There maybe was a weak tornado trying to deflect but not really stopping the damage. Your mission accomplished was a cannon cart lock-on, marking the end of a successful push. Finally, when they said, "Okay, now we're stuck with me," that was them dropping a bandit on your side, showing they were now fully engaged and leaning into the match. You open with a slow, calculated Ronaldo or Messi. That's like placing a lava hound in the back. You're setting up for a massive push, trying to bait a reaction, and she responds instantly with Messi over Messi, which is the early Tesla placement from the E-Giant cycle player. It's a fast answer, confident, and meant to shut things down before they even develop. You go full tilt after that. The "no" spam. That's the balloon, mega minion, and miner all stacking up behind lava, an emotional all-in built for damage and reaction. "How could you do that to me?" is rage dropped on the push. No mercy. She defends calmly with, "Messi is so much better." That's the E-Giant dropped at the bridge with tornado and cycle. It's a bold stand, tanking the whole push like it's nothing. She's not crumbling, she's countering. Then you drop the bomb. F Messi and you. That's your minor going straight for her elixir collector. Disrespectful and aggressive. She hits back with, oh wow, okay, a classic lightning, clearing half the board with that calm, dismissive energy, but then you get cheeky. My goat could never be under 6 feet. That's a sneaky goblin gang or flying machine behind the lava still hovering in the air. You start things off with an absolute RG ghost cycle opener. What's up, cutie? Heard you like tall guys. That's your royal ghost sneaking in unseen with charm, and then the royal giant drops at the bridge with the line, hopefully you don't snap your neck looking at me. It's direct, smooth, and fires off first, classic cycle pressure with style. She responds with, that was smooth, and that's her lumberjack walking up the lane. It's fast, low commitment, but it means danger's coming. Her eyes, that's the freeze in hand. She's impressed, but she's waiting for the right time to punish. Then you toss your number. That's cycling back to Royal Giant. Fast. You've controlled the tempo, kept pressure, and now you're at her tower again. No hesitation. But then, boom, she drops her number. That's the balloon behind Lumberjack. Rage activated. Freeze in hand. Tower damage is guaranteed. End result, a clean, efficient cycle from both players. But the balloon connected, she took the tower. You open immediately with Will You Marry Me? That's the Goblin Drill placed first card of the match. No hesitation, no bait, no setup. You're throwing instant tower pressure and the intention is clear. You're not here to defend, you're here to take a tower from the jump. She responds with maybe, a non-committal electro giant dropped in the back. She's playing it cool, acting like she's building something big but slow. It's a delayed threat and she's waiting to see if your fast cycle can be sustained or if it burns out early. Then she raises the bar. I need some good reasons before I say yes. That's her lightning spell being hovered, daring you to overcommit. She's not accepting a weak push. She wants you to show your whole deck. It's a challenge. You better make those reasons count. You drop the response. 1, I would rock your world. 2, that's it. Minimal cards, max value. That's drill with fire spirit and wall breakers. Fast, explosive, and straight to the point. No filler. Just high pressure plays, hoping to catch her off guard before she can fully defend. She answers with that's her E-Giant hitting the bridge. It's slow but threatening, and if you've miscalculated, you could get 3 elixir traded for your entire push. But you're calm, you know the matchup, then you strike again. ID Cayman, those are some pretty damn good reason. That's you back in cycle, already placing your next drill before she can fully reset. You're not giving her time to build elixir. You're pushing the tempo, knowing she wants a value lightning but can't find enough on the board. Finally, you drop the killer line. If you don't want the commitment, I can give you an advance on reason 1. That's a predictive rocket on her expected counter. High risk, high reward. You're not just applying pressure. You're reading her deck, her cycle, and playing 2 steps ahead. At this point, it's clear. She's defending, sure, but not confidently. You've thrown her off rhythm. She hasn't even had time to set up her big support troops, and her tower's slowly chipping down from your fast drills. This isn't a clean 3-crown domination, but it's a hard-fought 2.1 win in sudden death, where your pressure never let up, and her control deck never had the space to breathe. This convo's playing out like a match between Golden Knight Splash Yard on your end and Royal Recruit's Flying Machine on hers. Both pretty meta right now, but handled differently. You're throwing tricky pressure, she's holding lane control. You started off smooth with, I just finished eating, but I could fuck with some dessert. And that's you dropping a Golden Knight at the back. Confident, calculated, already revving up the dash. You're not full sending yet, but you're getting set up, letting her know something's coming. She goes, what dessert? And that's a clean recruit split in the back, trying to play it safe and read the situation. Not shutting you down, but she's keeping both lanes covered, seeing where this might go. You fire back instantly with just you, and now you're pressing Graveyard at the tower with Baby Dragon and Tornado ready, no hesitation. Direct, kinda reckless, but could land if her cycle's off. She hits back with Wea then, and that's a flying machine on defense. Not the flashiest card, but real annoying if not dealt with quick. She's ready to meet you halfway and test your push. You say, Unfortunately, I'm headed to Redacted for a week or two, then I'll be home a few days before I leave for Brazil, and that's you trying to kite her push with an ice wizard in the middle. It's meant to slow things down, buy time, and explain why you're not going all in just yet. She goes, oh damn, going everywhere, and now she's dropped a Zappies, Goblin Cage, locking your knight down and just waiting to counter push. She's not pushing yet, but she's definitely interested. Then she tosses the Snapchat. That's the pig split lane push. Suddenly she's making moves, applying pressure, and giving you a win condition to chase. It's not flashy, but it's effective. She took the bait, and now you just gotta defend her recruits while cycling back to another graveyard. Overall, you opened up with solid aggression, and she responded with safe, but eventually flirtatious control. Match still winnable for both, depends on who gets better elixir trades next round.